Welcome to Hip Hop Now Podcast. If you're from the future, you know what to do. Get your ass out of here. Don't disrespect the legend. Hip hop is here to stay. Let's get right into the business. What up, y'all? I am your host, Vegas, and this is Hip Hop Now Podcast, a podcast specifically designed to keep you caught up on all things hip hop music and culture that happened throughout the week. 50 years of hip hop. Shout out to the Patreon supporters over at patreon.com/hiphopnow. And if you would like to become a supporter of this podcast, visit the link in the description of this video and this audio. Because for those who may have been listening for years, maybe you dip out for a little bit, you come back. We do have a video version now on YouTube, and the link is in the description of the episode if you don't want to just listen to the audio version, right? And some people prefer one or the other. You know, I'm a big podcast listener. There are podcasts that I'll watch, right? Like Nightcap with Shannon Sharp. But, you know, when you commuting to work, when you cleaning up or whatever, or in my case, where it really gets heavy, sometimes shoveling snow, or you could call it yard, you could be doing yard work, whatever it may be, man, I just run through podcasts because it's just like a nice information. I was going to say overload, but that wouldn't be a good thing. But it's nice information dump of all the content I follow. And I follow way more than just hip hop, you know, sports, tech, video games, all kinds of podcasts that I get into. Did I say sports? Because I'm a big sports fan. But you should make this podcast a companion to your podcast listening, whether it's exclusively or, you know, you just match it with somebody else podcast, mainly because I'm not doing interviews like everybody else. But if you would like me to do interviews, put the comments in the comment section below. Big shout out to hiphopdx.com, allhiphop.com, and a couple of places where I'm getting some of these stories from. Let's get right to business. I love Erick Sermon. EPMD was my favorite group back in the days. When they broke up, I was broken by it. Never really recovered because I just really kind of ignored the albums that came after that, including the comeback album. Even though there were dope songs on that album and on the album after that, I think it was called Unfinished Business. No, I don't know, something business. But nevertheless, I kind of, fell back on EPMD, even though I got a bested EPMD on my phone that I listened to and all of that. And over the years when they would do interviews, Erick Sermon specifically, from time to time would kind of annoy me a little bit. And I didn't know if it was his personality, the moment, whether he was on something. I don't think he was on something. I think that's just him. But he always talked like the stream of consciousness. And sometimes it, you know, if he talked for so long, like on a Drink Champs or whatever, he would contradict things that he said earlier because he's kind of rambling. And it's just something personal with me where it's difficult to watch somebody not slow down and think all the time before they talk. But in recent interviews, I don't know what was going on before, but he seemed a little bit different. And it didn't seem like stream of consciousness. And maybe it was edited. Who knows? But nevertheless, it's good interviews because Erick Sermon is a legend in his game. A legendary producer, legendary rapper. He has so many credits, insights, admiration. He talked about, you know, what it's like working with Dr. Dre, all of that. But what was more interesting about the interview I saw, and I saw this on hiphopdx.com. I don't know if it's their original video, but that's where I saw it. What was most interesting was when he talked about Kanye West and how he works with him from time to time, and, you know, how great he is to work with because he listens to Erick Sermon. And Erick Sermon's goal working with Ye on a couple of songs was to bring the old Ye back. Now, when people hear that, you know, I miss the old Ye. First of all, Kanye West does not like him. Okay. He does not like to hear that. But generally, when people say that, they just want him to get back to music that felt so entrenched within the Black community without spewing hate towards another community. The music was more soulful, and probably most importantly, Ye was just there to try to be the best rapper. Like, that's it. Not to make a statement about politics or race or everything, or Illuminati and conspiracy theories, but to really just be the best rapper. And that's what Erick Sermon wanted to do with this Ye 3 album. And he said they did a couple of joints, and he was like, I got him. I got the old Ye back. He rap it. I got him, y'all. You know, we just need to finish, but I got him for y'all. Get ready. So a part of me was like, well, I don't know if it's going to change anything he's done so far, but it would be interesting to hear what the old Ye sounds like today. Wow. Kanye West caught wind of that. Because you know what happened. People heard Erick Sermon say that. People trust Erick Sermon. They probably ran over to Ye like, yo, you got an album called Ye 3? You know, the old Ye back. And they just wound up probably irritating him. So this is, and just to confirm, yes, the interview was with Hip Hop DX. Let's see. Let's find what Kanye said. Kanye said, "This is fake news. Ain't no album called Y3. It's called Y3. I said Ye 3. Ain't no album called Y3. And ain't nobody trying to be the old Ye. When I made 808s and Heartbreaks, people were running around talking about they missed the old Ye." And then he went off to ramble like what he said. We just made King, Back to Me, Carnival, talking just to name a few. What he say? I got numbers. Hold up. This is a lot of rambling. We got the #1 song in the world and #1 album in the world with top level beats, top level bars, top level hooks, top level features. I'm the greatest artist in any genre ever. And I'm just getting started. And what do I say about that? What a disappointment. I get it, right? Let's just look at Jay-Z and Nas. Jay-Z and Nas has said similar things about fans who wanted them to be Illmatic Nas again or Reasonable Doubt Jay. And they both had two great lines that kind of summarized how they felt about that sentiment, right? Nas on Stillmatic saying they thought I'd make another Illmatic, but it's only forward I'm moving, never backwards, stupid. Here's another classic. C notes is falling from the sky. Like, once he said that, I was like, yep, I don't want Illmatic. I want this guy who put that line together. And Jay, I think it was on Blueprint 3, said, Hove on that new-ish. People like, how come? They want my old music, buy my old album. He's absolutely 1000% right. When you like 10 albums deep, y'all want that old thing. I know what I do. Anytime I want to feel nostalgic for old Jay-Z from Reasonable Doubt or any of the Volume series or the Blueprint or American Gangster, or whatever, I just go back and listen, man. You don't have to keep giving me the same thing over and over, because after a while I get tired of it. Now, the counterpoint is we have to like what you're doing now, because there is merit in people wanting the old Ye. His music hasn't been as good since maybe, in my opinion, maybe Yeezus. I think that was like the cap, but really, because Yeezus is something I started to like later, like more recently. I didn't really like it when it came out. But My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is, to me, like, that back is old Ye. And there's something to be said about that, oh yeah, right? Because again, I listened to Vultures 1, and I I don't think it's a bad album musically. I think it sounds great. I think the quality that comes with it just shows what kind of a producer he is. I think that part of the old Ye is still there. It may not be the same beats, but that craftsmanship as a producer, it's still there. That demand for quality, it's still there in his music. But what's not there is who he is lyrically. I ain't hear no bars on that album that made me feel like the old Ye was back, let alone dope lyrics. Like you wanna talk about old Ye. To me, on Watch the Throne, Kanye was better than Jay-Z. I thought I would never think that, but he was in his bag. That's what people want, Kanye. They want that slick talk. Your slick talk now, when you walking around dressed like the monsters, like the Frankenstein, the pops on that joint, and then you talking about you the best rapper when you got a mask on, like you the 30-second entrant on the Royal Rumble. Man, get out of here, dog. We get out of here. There's nothing you can say. There's no amount of money. You can talk about things that I'm gonna just say me. You can talk about things I've never heard of before. I don't care. Because people have to care to be offended by stuff like that. I don't care how much money you got. I don't care that, you walk your woman around like, I don't know what's going on with that. Get back to the music for real. Because this ain't it. And maybe I'm a victim of Erick Sermon hyping me up. I don't know. But that's how I felt about it. How do you feel? You want the old Ye back? Could care less, given all the things he said? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Oh Ye with Erick Sermon. Now, that's what we're talking about. That's the combination we're talking about. Because I know Erick Sermon going to be in his usual bag. He don't have to be old Erick Sermon because he never changed really. He enhanced. So we'll see. Stove God Cooks has a new single out called Carbone. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not going to say pause because why would you even think that? He's working with a dude named Stoop, who I'm not that familiar with. I think he did the production on. Now, Stove God had released a project. Oh, not a project, a single, I think in January. And that single wasn't that impressive to me, considering why we like him. Reasonable Drought, I feel comfortable calling it a classic. Yes, already. Every time I press play on that project produced by Rock Marciano, I feel like, man, this is quintessential boom bap. Like, if you want to know what boom bap is, obviously there's plenty of examples. This is it. Beats, bars, just perfect. And I wasn't the biggest fan in the beginning because I didn't really care for his style that much. But then it kind of to be completely honest, Rock Marciano's beats matched with Stove God Cooks was chef's kiss. Perfect. So when I heard this new single in January, after waiting all this time, because I know he's with Griselda, waiting all this time for a Stove God project, and I said it in my preview of 2024, I think this is the year. Well, I'm going to say it again, y'all. This is the year. We're going to finally get what this album is. This single is way better than the first one, but it is extremely short. It's 2 minutes, and I don't even know if it's a verse and a half. And what makes that so disappointing is his bars are crazy on here. I was listening to the first couple of seconds. I was like, oh, like, okay, I think we warming up. I think Stove God is warming up. So while the record is short, it is worth checking out, because if you had been anticipating a Stove God song, or album, I should say, and you're tired of hearing them on hooks on everybody else's album, and you just don't, you just want a Stove God project. I get the method to the madness, because they wanted to keep him in the ears and eyes of hip hop heads on like West Side Guns, because like West Side Guns' last album, he was on mad songs, like and you know, he's on Benny joint. He like he's been on everybody's joint. Like they're trying to keep him within the ether of things, right? Not that ether, but trying to keep him busy in the public eye. This isn't the big single, but I think it's definitely a start. The next one got to be crazy. Next one got to be crazy. This one, the beat is dope. I love the way he's rhyming. It's just way better than that other single. That other single doesn't even need to hit the album, because I wouldn't miss it. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it was just so like, whatever. It made me miss Rock Marciano's production. This Carbone song makes me optimistic for the production, because that's a key with Stove Guys. He's so different from every other rapper that you can't just give him regular beats. They got to be big, or they got to be the dirtiest boom bap beats ever, so he can just get loose on that joint. We'll see. Like I said before, I'm optimistic. I don't know. I don't want to jinx it. This is one of my most anticipated albums this year. I didn't know if it would even come out, but we're starting to ramp up. We're warming up, y'all. All right. Lastly, so if you follow this here podcast, Hip Hop Now podcast, and you can follow me everywhere on social media at Vegas World INC, and subscribe to the podcast in audio form wherever you get your podcast, but also YouTube, and check the video, because we are trying to get to 500 subscribers. We're crawling to 400. You know, we like at 93, 93. You know, 7 more people subscribe. We have 400. That next 100 should be easy money. But we've been talking about Schoolboy Q. It's been a long time since he's released something, or at least it feels that way. And, you know, really TDE kind of being quiet, because it felt like you had the big Kendrick release, and, you know, it was like Kendrick and SZA. And it was like, well, where's everybody else? Now, Isaiah Rashad, he got a dope new record out that I really like a lot. Like, I really like it a lot. But we was waiting on, like, where's Schoolboy Q, though? Like, where he at? Like, if there was heads of the table, you know, everybody's equal. Don't get me wrong. Absol is dope as well. But if it was like heads of the table kind of thing, Schoolboy Q was like the probably 3rd most important member of the Justice League. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how it feels. Not that Justice League, TDE, but, and I don't think he have a whack album. Even the album that people like the least, I still felt it was good. It just wasn't better than what he had done. So now he releases Blue Lips, which comes in at about an hour, 58 minutes. It has 18 tracks. The lead single was what's called Yearn 101, which I thought was cool. The album features Ab-Soul, Jazzy, Childish Major, Freddie Gibbs, Rico Nasty, among others. And my listening experience with this isn't a review. This is more of impressions. But my listening experience is always to listen 3 times, right? 1 is just the initial reactions. Sometimes I do that at midnight because I'm up. The second listen is when I'm in the gym. And then the third listen is usually right after that, to kind of confirm what I thought on the second listen. And I got to say, I feel like this is another good album from Schoolboy Q. I don't feel like it's an instant classic. I don't feel like, oh, it's so great. I just feel like it's good, but I got to give it some time. Mainly because I feel like it has a strong start, and then somewhere in the middle, I started to lose. It started to lose my attention a little bit. Now, typically, let's just take my gym listen. Typically, if I'm engaged in an album while I'm working out, man, I hear everything about it. It don't matter what workout I'm doing. I hear every single word, beat. When I come up from a set, I'm looking like, what song was that? Or, who was on there, blah, blah, blah. And with this, I found myself trying to bring my attention back to the album. On a third listen, I felt like, okay, the album is good, but I think it's too long. And me coming from an era where albums sometimes were even longer than that sounds crazy. But hear me out. I feel like nowadays, not that you have to make shorter albums or shorter songs, but I feel like nowadays you can easily lose someone's attention span because we are so distracted by other things, not even just music, just other things in general, other information in these devices, these phones and stuff, that is so easy for you to take your mind, take your ears off the music, off the lyrics. And I felt like there were times where I was doing that because there were songs that were just kind of like, this song isn't really that good. They could have took it off. I generally feel like if you cut this album down to 15 songs, it's great. It's top 5 of the year, easy. Because what stands out to me the most on this Blue Lips album, one is the production quality. Y'all got to give TDE some props, man. Their albums sound, all of them, SZA, Isaiah Rashad, all of them, their albums sound excellent. Kendrick, they just sound good. They're just so well thought out with the musical choices and the sounds and the quality of the sounds, like everything. And then the rappers is just so polished. Like Schoolboy Q is such a polished, free MC that can go straight gangster and make it just as believable as an introspective song, or a song where he chooses to use a lot of wordplay. Like, that's what I love about what Schoolboy Q does. He just has a knack for being able to wear different hats. Bars, I was fiending for the cat. Yo, I'm on a roll. Now, but you know what I'm saying? Like, he is just so flexible with adapting to the production styles that I think that's what the detriment is. Because I think there are just certain tracks, if it don't really fit within the aesthetics of the album, or it's not as, I don't know, let's just go with good. It's not as good as your strongest records. I think it's okay to shelve those joints, and maybe they sound better on a unreleased or B-sides type of project somewhere in between your album, because I think maybe then it's more digestible because this is what it is within the frame of this project. So with that said, one real quick thing. So Schoolboy Q has said online that Freddie Gibbs watched him on the song they were on. I don't think so. I thought Freddie Gibbs' verse was dope, but I thought Schoolboy Q's verse was equally as dope. And they're just two different types of rappers, styles, and how they approach music. He even posted about taking this album to Jay-Z and having him listen to it, and Jay-Z saying, "Yo, run that back." So you listen to 2 hours of this. That's what you're saying, because it's 1 hour to listen to the whole album. And maybe he did. Who knows? Maybe he did. But I think Jay-Z heard what I heard. Now I'm gonna say this because I got to keep saying this, because Conway proved me wrong last year. I'm getting to the point where my anticipation for the artists that I really like gets so high that if it isn't met, I'm just kind of like, that's it. And then I continue to listen over time. And then I come back at the end of the year and be like, oh, I love it. I play it all the time. So what do you think? Have you heard Blue Lips by Schoolboy Q? Are you a Schoolboy Q fan? Do you like it? How does it compare to the albums in his catalog? Can you compare it to anything in his catalog? I don't think so. I feel like it's very different than most of the albums we've got from him, like Blank Face and Oxymoron and all of that. But I'm just going to keep listening because I think it sounds really good. And sometimes you take a break, you come back to it, and you hear an album with different ears. You hear it more deeply, and it's not forcing yourself to like it. It's not the point. It's maybe I wasn't listening as close because there's some garbage rappers that you could sit there like a statue and listen to their whole album and have the same conclusion. This album's trash, right? I don't have to do that. If I like this artist's previous work, I'm always going to give it the benefit of the doubt. Like Benny the Butcher's album, which I had a similar feel or a similar reaction to it, and I still kind of play it every day, y'all. So he's one of my favorite rappers. So there you have it. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Remember, we are trying to get to 500 subscribers. So if you enjoy this podcast on YouTube, subscribe. If you enjoyed this podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen, like, review, do all of that. Especially review, because what those things do for me and my content is that it raises the profile for those who are out there trying to discover content like this. Until next time, y'all, I'm not a critic, I'm a fan. Peace.